Okie dokie, boys and girls. So today we are doing Nordic curls for the hamstrings, and I'm dreaming big. I want to go very far in the Nordic curls, especially after a 4 week layoff in Japan. Right? I'm excited to get back at it. And when you're setting goals for yourself, or like a vision where you want to hit, how you want to become stronger, what exercises you want to become good at, which parts of your physique you want to develop. Of course, it's very good to have big goals, right? To have big visions, to know where you want to head. But what's important as well is that even though you have that big goal, that big dream, is to start small. So let's say for me right now, I think last training I did like 3 or 2 Nordic curls in one set, right? And in the beginning of this bulk, I was able to do 0. So of course, in the beginning of the bulk, I was already aiming for 20 Nordic curls. Right now, I want to aim for even more, and that's a big dream. But if I try to achieve that instantly, of course, I'm gonna fail. So what I have to do is I have to compare my situation where I want to be with the situation where I'm actually at the moment, which is I can do a couple Nordic curls, and I have to kind of figure out, okay, there's this big gap in between. I can't reach, my dream in one go, so let's cut it in half. How big is the gap now? And then you cut it in half and in half and in half. And you just, cut the way towards your goal in these tiny little parts until it starts to become feasible, until you have something where you think like this is gonna be hard, but it's doable, right? And that's target, that doable target, that's pretty much your next training. So for me, I would like to get 50 Nordic curls in one training before the end of the bulk. Like that's a new goal because I already reached my goal of Nordic curls during this bulk, right? My original goal has been reached. But now if I can get 50 Nordic curls in one training, that would be fucking insane. So if I break down a goal, right? First, I'm gonna try and get, let's say, 10 or something, right? That's something that's doable, and that's my next training. If you break down your goal in enough parts, it's gonna be like this thing of months or years of training. Is gonna break down in a couple weeks. It's gonna break down in a week. It's gonna break down in a single day. And if you break it down even further, right, it's going to break down in a single set, a single repetition. And each of those repetitions, each of those small sets are a step towards where you want to head towards. If you want to build a bigger physique, every push-up is going to get you a bigger chest. If you want to become very strong at the front lever, every little hold in the tuck front lever is going to get you closer to your goal. So, that's what I mean by dream big, but start small. Start with your current training. Start with whatever is on your plate right now that can get you, better, stronger, and to the next step. So, yeah, that's it. Some people might be asking, like, another fucking leg day for calisthenics athletes. Why the fuck are you doing 2 leg days in a row? It's basically because, well, just like the arm, the leg has two sides. If I just explain it with legs, it might be hard to understand for calisthenics athletes, but if you have in your arm, you have your bicep and you have your tricep. You have the pulling and you have the pushing, right? And it's the same in your leg. You have your quadriceps for pushing and the hamstrings for pulling. So yesterday I did a push leg, like a push workout, but for my legs. And now I'm going to do a pull workout for my legs, right? It's like push and pull, but instead for upper body, it's going to be lower body. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to start out with 5 sets of Nordic curls. I want to see if perhaps I can get 5 sets of 2 or 3 reps depending on how I feel, and then I'll see from there because I really don't know how this is going to go in the first place. But let's head outside. All right, that went better than expected. Last time I got 2 reps, which I guess was after I was already tired, but 4 reps, 5 sets seems to be something feasible. So that's what I'm gonna aim for first. That would make 20 reps in one go, and then the next training I could aim for like 25 or something, right? Just bit by bit. Every time a goal that seems realistic, and in the end, you'll get to that dream that seemed unrealistic at first, but you went there step by step. And step by step, you were able to see more of the horizon, further down the horizon towards your ultimate goal. So let's do the remaining 4 sets. All right. Whew. That's 5 sets of 4 reps. And now I'm gonna do one more set. I want to make a case for myself to try 5 by 5 next time. So in this last set, I'm gonna go all out until failure, superset it with negatives, and that's gonna be an insane set, just massive intensity. So very fun, but let's aim for 6 complete reps at least, If I can do 6 reps now, I'll definitely be able to do 5 by 5 next time. So let's go. Maybe one thing I should mention, like I'm aiming for 6 reps because it seems it's like this gray area. I don't know if I can do it, but I have a feeling that I might be able to do it. So I aim for that, right? And that's kind of how you do it step by step. I could say, oh, I'm gonna aim for 1,000,000 reps, but I know that I will never get it, right? So I take something that I have a chance of achieving, and then I might fail, I might succeed, but next time, whatever result I got, I can aim for something a little bit higher, and step by step, I'll be able to get towards those 50 reps in total. Next set. What shall we do? I think maybe some finger assisted full reps. Yeah, that will be a good idea. Just some more finisher sets, I've done the main part, the strengthening part. Now it's time to destroy the hamstrings completely so that, they have or they need to recover, because the next hamstring training will only be in 4 days. I have 3 days to recover. I need to make sure that in those 3 days, my hamstrings are not just lazying around, lying around doing nothing. I need to make sure that all of those 3 days, there are building blocks being transported within my muscle cells to rebuild the legs or whatever stuff is going on there to make it stronger, And after those 3 days, when I go to sleep, I will be like, or I will hopefully be like, hey, tomorrow I can do hamstrings again, but not sooner than that. So let's go. last set is gonna be finger assisted half reps, focusing on the bottom half of the rep because that's where you really feel the hamstring the most. And then just do a complete burnout set to destroy the last muscle fibers. And that's gonna be it for today's workout. Let's go. Okie dokie, so that's it for today's training. And I got a question from a viewer regarding drop sets and supersets and what I think about them. And basically, I think that they are a good tool, you know. They have their usage, but you can also use them in the wrong way. And basically, you saw me using drop sets and supersets today. The reason that I do it is because, well, I have this routine now: planche, front lever, squats, Nordic curls. So I have 3 days of rest in between each kind of workout, right? And in my case, I feel like for the hamstrings, for the Nordic curls, if I don't use or if I do a normal training, 8 sets, right? Like, let's say I did the 5 sets of 4 reps today and I stopped, I wouldn't have to use all of those 3 days to recover. I would be recovered by day 2, basically, and then, spend an entire extra 2 days not having anything to recover in my hamstrings, not making gains, basically, right? So I want to make my training as intense as possible that I'm able to recover. So I want to adjust it so that I need 3 days to recover, but not more than that either. So when are the drop sets and supersets useful? It's when you feel like you lack intensity. If you're already struggling to recover within the certain time frame that you have, right? Let's say you're training every 3 days, right? And you're struggling to recover within that time frame, you don't need supersets and drop sets because they're going to make your workout even harder. So they're actually going to stop you from progressing, right? Then you don't want to use them, but you do want to use them when you feel like you can use a bit more intensity. And like I mentioned, the dropsets and the supersets are just one tool, right? There are other tools as well. For example, you can just increase the volume of your workout. I just started doing the Nordic curls again after a period of 4 weeks. I'm not fully adapted, so I'm not able to do a lot of Nordic curls yet, but I am still adapted to like some heavier intensity, right? So for me at this point, even though I'm not able to do all of those Nordic curls like I used to, right? I do want the intensity, but as I ramp up my volume again, right? Today I did 20 Nordic curls, or I guess I did 26 in total, right? Next time I'm gonna try a 5x5 and I'm gonna do another extra set to my limit, and it might be like that I'm hitting 35 or 30 to 35 Nordicals, right? It's a bigger volume. And as I will keep repeating that same progress, right? Eventually I'm going to get to the 40s, the 50s, maybe even 60 Nordicals in one training. At that point, it's going to become very difficult to recover from all that volume within 4 days. And at that point, I will stop, or I will reduce the amount of drop sets and supersets that I'm using because I don't need them anymore to have enough intensity in my workout. So, drop sets, supersets are great, but make sure that you're recovering. Because another example, like for the planche, right? If I do a lot of drop sets and supersets, I just feel that I'm not able to recover. The same especially with pistol squats and front lever. Like the bigger muscles, the bigger your muscle is, the more effort your entire body is putting into an exercise, the more difficult it's going to become, basically, right? So that's something you have to look out for. But yeah, if you want to use them, try them out. I can tell you all of this theoretic stuff, but don't knock something until you try it. That's basically, yeah, very important too. But anyway, that's it for today's workout. I'm gonna head downstairs and have some dinner, and I'll see you tomorrow for planche.